Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 13 of the Steeler Culture Podcast, presented by SteelNews.com and a part of the Steel City Podcast Network, and now officially sponsored with SeatGeek. Huge shout out to SeatGeek for sponsoring today's podcast. SeatGeek is a large search ticket engine where you could go to SeatGeek.com to look for any events that you're looking forward to, any trending events around the world, such as sporting events, concerts, even comedy if you're into that. Any sports, music, or any shows you're looking forward to, they have it all categorized in those categories and even in your own city. It's very well organized, but for us mainly, we're looking for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're looking for NFL tickets, and they have all that categorized by league, by team, and it even tells you when you go to specific prices and seats. It tells you if it's a great deal, okay deal, or a bad deal. It's very detailed, very organized.
So you know exactly what you're getting with your purchase.
Absolutely. And that's SeatGeek.com, and at checkout, you can put SteelTwins at checkout for $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. So shout out to SeatGeek for sponsoring today's video. What games are you guys looking forward to? What games are you guys going to purchase?
Again, that's discount code SteelTwins at checkout for $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. And thank you once again to SeatGeek for partnering with the podcast.
Now let's get into the podcast. Today we're going to talk about the receiving core. Not only today, but throughout the entire week, we're going to talk about the entire Steelers receiving core going into the 2023 season. And we got to open it off with the main guy, the fan favorite, George Pickens. Let's talk about George Pickens a little bit. How great was his rookie year? I think it was very stellar. Could it have been better? Absolutely. For what reasons? I think they're obvious.
But as a rookie, I mean, a second rounder that should have been a first rounder, but due to injury at Georgia in his last year, he fell to the second round, thankfully to the Steelers.
That was a blessing in disguise for the Steelers. He fell right into our laps at pick 52.
And immediately at minicamp, OTAs, training camp, the man stood out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, he did. He brought that aggression, that nastiness, that big body play, that explosiveness. He brought everything that, honestly, the Steelers have lacked a receiver for a couple years now. And this is not a dig at Deontay, but he brings stuff that Deontay doesn't have.
Now, granted, Deontay is a 5'10" wide receiver,
of course.
while George Pickens is a 6'2", 6'3" guy.
No, there are very different varieties of receivers around the NFL. They all play a certain role. They have a different style of play. That's not a negative on Deontay. In fact, some of the stuff that he has, Pickens has yet to learn that craft in himself. So again, this isn't a dig at nobody on the roster or Deontay himself. Receivers are very, very different in their own play style and in their own craft. So, but that explosiveness, that contested catch ability, the hand,
the agility, the way he moves his body around on the field, just his attitude, it's what sticks out about him to this team compared to the other wide receivers.
Yeah, dude, it's just like it's like that murder hawk ability right at the line of scrimmage, man. That's what Pickens brings, and I think that's why we're all very high on Pickens. Is he's just filthy. He's mean, man. Like he's someone that you stare across from at the line of scrimmage, and you know that Pickens 9 times out of 10 could very well win the matchup. He has the potential to be that dominant. He's already showed it in his rookie year, especially in some of the big plays that he has brought to this offense, which we didn't see many, but the some that we saw, the majority of them are from George Pickens.
Yeah.
And some crazy catches, some big playability is what Pickens brings to the table. And he's going to continue to bring that. Now, I know going into his second year, there is a little concern just based on recent years where some guys in their second year, some receivers in their second year, they don't really step up to the plate.
Yeah,
they kind of have a slump.
Exactly. A sophomore slump is what they like to call it.
Yeah.
Chase Claypool, that's the topic for another time. But
actually, you know what? It's not. Let's talk about Claypool. Only because, we know the Bears aren't very enthused with Claypool right now, which
I believe those reports, I believe those rumors. I mean, I could just tell when he was a Steeler that, it just didn't come off on the field, compared to his rookie season. God. He was dynamic, he was electric, he was a big play monster for Big Ben in the Steelers offense.
You gotta be some sort of player to peak in your rookie season.
But after that, we saw nowhere near, not even half of what Chase Claypool did.
And yeah, we kind of, it wasn't all on Claypool. It was some coaching, it was some scheming and where he was being positioned. And even last year, he was actually placed in the slot because we drafted Pickens. We're like, okay, Claypool's in his rightful spot. When he's in the slot, he's dominant. But we didn't really see that.
No, hence why we traded him away to the Bears for Joey Porter Jr.
Pretty much the 32nd pick, which turned out to be indeed Joey Porter Jr. Now, that trade will be determined in a couple years, but as of now, it's looking very, very heavy on the Steelers side in terms of
concerned
success.
in the reports about the Bears just not being happy about his work ethic or how he is on the field and everything.
Dude, it's just it's a shame because he's such a, I don't want to say a waste because he's still very young, but as of now, he has such great size and athleticism.
Mapletron size, as people compared him to.
Dude, seriously, he had such great measurables and athleticism that we saw in the rookie year, but God, he's so clumsy.
It seems like he took the hype he got from the rookie year and just went with that.
I've never seen a wide receiver so big play so little. It is so,
or a more sloppy wide receiver on the field.
Yeah, it's so disappointing.
Like those 50-50 catches that George Pickens has already shown in his rookie year that he was able to make. Claypool with his size, considering he's bigger and taller than George Pickens, and arguably just as fast. Let's not forget his 40. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
He just doesn't make the catches. He doesn't make the play.
No.
I don't know what it is about Claypool. I don't know what it is about him as far as his work ethic goes, as him as a player goes, but it just seems to be a waste of rare size, talent, and potential.
Dude, it's a shame.
And I hate to see it.
It's disappointing, and that's why Omar Khan got what he got out of Claypool. That's why we traded Claypool. Thankfully so, because now we get to see the more bigger potential of George Pickens, because you saw when Claypool left, Pickens got more targets, and boy, did he run with them. He's coming off a rookie year with 52 catches, 801 yards, and 4 touchdowns, which I believe that led the Steelers.
I believe you're correct on that.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
So, we're all very much anticipating George Pickens to kind of jump this year. I mean, we're expecting that from a lot of players, especially the guy at quarterback. But Pickens especially, just because, I don't know if it's just me, but I've always been fascinated by the wide receiver position, hence why Hines Ward's my favorite Steeler of all time.
Right.
And out of all the wide receivers that I have seen the Steelers draft in recent years, Juju, Washington, Claypool, Deontay, all of them, right? I don't know. Something about Pickens, it gives me a much greater sense of excitement in the second year because out of all those guys, and again, it's not to hinder them, but out of all those guys, Pickens just he shows so much greater potential. You see it on the field. You see it in his attitude.
Yeah,
you see it in the film.
So much to the likes that Peyton Manning even went out and said that this is a quarterback's dream. This is exactly what a quarterback is looking for.
Because I look back at all those other receivers we just listed, and I remember watching them, and I see what Pickens has already brought to the table. Pickens is, you could arguably say, I don't want to say league's better, but he is well more advanced than what we saw from the other guys. This guy has so much potential. And I'm not very fearful of him having a sophomore slump like some of the other second-round wide receivers we've had.
Right, but that doesn't mean that there still aren't areas for him to improve on.
Of course.
He's coming to his second year. He's still a young stud, but he's still not the most polished wide receiver yet.
No, he's definitely not. And we're going to talk about the areas he needs to improve on for sure because this is where the expectation comes in. And Tomlin said in his great little speech that went viral in the Steelers locker room where – in your second year, we don't anticipate similar mistakes from your rookie year.
No,
in your rookie year, you could get away with that.
Yes.
This year, not so much.
Zero expectations from Coach T.
No. So
as it should be.
And that goes not only for Kenny Pickett. Just because he's the quarterback, that doesn't mean he's immune to criticism.
Nobody is.
But same thing with Pickens. Just because he's a great wide receiver so far, and he's a fan favorite, and he has potential to be our number one, I mean, that also doesn't exclude him from criticism.
No, and that goes for literally everybody that puts on the black and gold, everybody that steps foot on
Yeah, I
that
don't care
field.
who you are. I don't care what your last name is. I don't care what you've done for this franchise. Nobody is immune to criticism.
Once you step on that field, you know what your job is.
Exactly. And you have a certain expectation. I don't care what type of player you are. I don't care if you're the kicker. I don't care if you're the long snapper. You have a certain expectation.
When you are a player for the Pittsburgh Steelers, you have a legacy to live on.
Yes.
And I understand that's a big legacy, but these players up here, set that legacy. It is up for the players on the team to live up to it. That's why we have high expectations.
Yes. Now, certain guys have higher expectations than others. Pickens is definitely going to be one of those guys that not only Steelers fans, but everybody in the NFL are going to be looking at just because of what he brought to the Steelers offense in his rookie year. A watered-down offense, may I add, and hopefully an offense that won't be as watered down this year because the same guy that coached him last year is returning for some reason. To be a number one, I'm not saying the expectation is for him to be the new number one. I mean, that could be the case. In my opinion, last year he was the number one just based on play overall. But you also got to think, in your rookie year, you don't have as much film on you. Now, everyone's got film on Pickens. They can kind of dissect, microscope him, see, how they can play up against Pickens, right? How the game plan against them. This is where Pickens are going to have to continue to step up, as for everybody. But Pickens especially, the two things I really want to see him improve on this year, and two very important things, is his route running and I would say his separation, which also ties in with his route running.
Yeah. Now, I will add another one to that, and it's not really about his play on the field, his style on the field, but I want to say his attitude, so to speak, because, that was a bit of a rumor as well as why he dropped out of the first round because of drama issues and attitude issues. And we saw maybe one glimpse of that in the Atlanta Falcons game where he's like, throw me the damn ball, because the offense wasn't going and everything like that. He wanted the ball, and pretty much 9 times out of 10, the guy's going to be open. And there's some film where, he's open, he's not being targeted. And you can understand his frustration, but we don't want that to be overdone. You know what I mean? We don't want that to exceed to a point where it's like, well, there's problems with the quarterback and wide receiver. We don't want that.
No, definitely not, especially seeing how the wide receiver room the past couple years has been full of guys that never shut the hell up. We don't have that so far. And hopefully Pickens, because we did see it in the Falcons game, I get his frustration. I get, hey, he's getting open, or he's a guy you trust in 50-50 scenarios. And you toss it up to him, he's gonna come down with it. I don't care how tightly covered he is. He's that good. But at the same time, I don't want that to get to his head and cause some drama.
At the time, it may not have been a big deal, and I can completely understand if anybody's going to disagree with me right here. That's your opinion. That's fine. But even little bits of moments like that can lead to big bad results in the future, and we don't want that.
No, definitely not. We don't want another repeat of what we've seen in the Steelers wide receiver room the past couple years.
No,
because Pickens is that good, and. But mostly this year, I want to see him improve on his separation and his route running.
As far as on the field, absolutely.
Because now, I'm not saying he isn't good there, because he can create separation. His route running is pretty solid for his style of receiver, right? But to be in your second year and to now have eyes on you and to just completely improve your game, you're going to have to create more separation, and preferably separation more consistently. Just because you're this receiver that can go up and grab it and your hands are great and you can come down with the ball in tight coverage, I don't want that to be your entire story, right? I want you to be able to create separation and be open a little bit more often. I'm not saying be like a Deontay Johnson, but improve your route running, improve your separation, because if you create more separation, then the bigger chance of you getting bigger plays and making more yards and helping the offense a little more is greater, honestly. So Pickens is a feisty receiver. He's someone you trust. Even if it's one-on-one. If he's one-on-one, I'm liking those odds 9 times out of 10. I don't care how tightly covered he is. He's that great when it comes to the ball in the air.
Yep.
But I do want to see some additional separation from him. He can, but I want to see him more consistently.
Yeah, you don't want to be complacent with where you're at. He had a very spectacular rookie season. Could have been better, of course, but it is what it is.
I see.
But you don't want him to be complacent. You don't want him to be right there. You always want to improve. You always want to be better.
Yeah, especially now you got eyes on you. You got coaches that see your film and can game plan against it. Like now it's really time to get grinding. Another thing I do see people complaining about Pickens a lot, and this is to say for a lot of the Steelers offense, is he has no yak ability. I see why people say that. We don't have yak ability. We catch the ball and the play's over. That's it. There's nothing additional. I think the greatest yak ability we saw last year was Freiermuth in the Falcons game, and maybe Connor Hayward a little bit, but that's it. I'm not really worried about Pickens, preferably. being a yak receiver. Again, receivers are very specific. They all are very different in their own right.
Yeah.
You know, you have receivers that are good at route running. You have receivers that are great with 50-50 balls. There's a rarity where you have a jack all trades, almost like an Antonio Brown, right? You know, each receiver has their own role and has their own traits that they're good at. I don't know if yak ability is one of them for Pickens. And I'm not incredibly worried about it, although I would like to see him improve on that. But as of now, my expectation on Pickens is improving his route running, improving his separation, and just being a better wide receiver from a fundamental aspect.
Right.
That's all I really care to see from Pickens. I think the yak ability can be saved for like a Freiermuth or like a Deontay, as long as he doesn't, go backward
or even
all the time.
maybe even a Calvin Austin, since he'll be going into his actual first season playing on the field if he stays healthy. Maybe with his speed and his size, he could be the yak guy.
Yep.